Hello guys, welcome back to the channel where today we are talking NFL but in a slightly different way. So as you know, the NFL has been in London recently. You know, they've had their 3 games finished off this weekend with the Ravens and the Titans, but now it's time to look about what's going to be happening further on, because as news emerged over the weekend, Roger Goodell basically saying that a Super Bowl in London has been discussed, and sort of added to by Adam Schefter on ESPN, where he said that a league source told ESPN that it would make sense. So it's always been a talk ever since, for the past 10, 15 years, since these international games have been going on. There's always been the talk of, it's always been, will there be a London franchise and will there be a London Super Bowl? And it gets brought up every year, but I think now, again, with comments made by Roger Goodell, and again, that league source just makes you think, right, let's actually take the situation seriously. And there are a lot of things that go into hosting a Super Bowl and what needs to be done. And obviously, there are a lot of questions surrounding whether or not London should or whether it could handle a Super Bowl. Should and could are two completely different subjects. By the way, could we'll address first. Should, honestly, even though I am British, I do think that something as big as the Super Bowl should be American based, personally. Whilst I wouldn't object to a Super Bowl being played in the UK, I just think there are something regular season games is fine. I know there's always been talk about whether or not the Champions League final, the FA Cup final should be played abroad. I think the big game should be kept within the big game. Should be where they are. If you want to have a regular season, Premier League game, EPL game played in New York, fine, go for it. Regular season, but I just think the showcase, the big thing, I personally think it should be in the place where it should be in the place where it is normally. That's just me. Again, should London get a Super Bowl? I say no. Could England get a Super Bowl? Could London get a Super Bowl? Let's be honest, it would be London. Could London get a Super Bowl? It's not quite as easy as you guys might think, because I was looking at this article from Reader's Digest from back in 2021, where they listed out a whole bunch of things for, or lost a list of criteria that NFL cities have to do, or cities have to do, in order for them to get a Super Bowl. And I was going to read a couple of them over here for you. So there's some miscellaneous stuff you can get, like the league requires exclusive access to 3 top quality 18-hole area golf courses, 2 top quality bowling alleys at no cost. Again, all of this provided by the cities themselves. 16 months before the game, the NFL has to send out a familiarization trip, so a group from the NFL to see, how are things going? This is the hotel we're going to be staying in. Here's the route, so all the logistics of it. That has to be paid for by the host city. Loads of hotel rooms. NFL requires hotel with a minimum of 1,000 rooms for their use, with free items such as beer, snacks, parking space, storage, whatever. Allowing to install ATMs, phone signal, hotel makeovers. The city must cover the expense of providing the NFL with a task force devoted strictly to busting game ticket counterfeiters. There's a whole lot of things that I think, again, for a big event, especially after we've hosted the Olympics, we've hosted major things before, Champions League finals. London can host a big event. There are a couple that I think are a little bit. There have to be some negotiation. One of them is, on game day, the NFL gets access to 35,000 parking spots near the stadium at no cost. Now, anyone who has been to an NFL international game will know this, and anyone who hasn't, I can fill you in now. 35,000 parking spaces is going to be a bit of a challenge. Tottenham Hotspur is right in the middle of a busy town centre, Tottenham Centre, as it were. 35,000 parking spaces, you would literally have to close off the borough that it is in and just say, no cars, everyone, off you go, in order to get 35,000. So that's not good. So that is something that, if it was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, wouldn't happen. That's before, by the way, Tottenham would have to increase the capacity by another 10-ish thousand or so, because it's got to be a minimum 70,000. To a stadium that does have 70,000, that's where, or minimum 70,000, that's where you go to Wembley, which has, it gets about 83, 84, 85,000 whenever the international games go there. So and there is some parking in and around Wembley. Like there's a couple of multi-stories and there'll be whatever. But again, 35,000 is a bit of a push. Now, there may be some level of negotiation with that because London has a great public transport system with buses and taxis and trains and undergrounds and whatever. So they might be able to get away from it, get away with it on that stage by saying, okay, we don't need the parking spaces because you've got infrastructure. I'm sure whoever the mayor is at the time would say, right, let's put on the extra trains, reroute some, get everyone out of Wembley at the time the game ends, so there's no big queues or anything like that. So and then all the auxiliary things again. There's a lot of things that London has going for it. There are some things that you might think they might be able to negotiate their way around. Some of it might be a bit. Obviously, the main thing is going to be the kickoff time, because I've seen this again reported that if it were to happen, then the Super Bowl would have to kick off 3 hours earlier, because for those of you who don't, again, the time difference wise, the Super Bowl usually kicks off at 11:30 in the evening UK time. You think, okay, which is, because the 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. You think, okay, they're not going to kick off at 11:30. No matter whatever situation, I know that some sporting events go on late, like boxing. Sometimes you can be fighting past midnight or whatever, but you can't. There's no way you can kick off the game at 11:30. So they say, okay, make it to prime time in the UK, so 8:30. Fair enough. Most games kick off 8:30 standard time, whatever, in the US. So that's not too bad. And then that means that the game would be kicking off at 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time, 2:30 Central, 1:30 Mountain, and 12:30 Pacific time. If I've got that right. So there are a lot of things that need to go into again the time. Would it be a bit of a big push? I don't think it's that big of a ask to say, okay, NFL fans, you're usually used to having a 6:30, 3:30, just the one off. Fine. I mean, by all means, if you're living in California, that means by the time the game's over at 3 o'clock, you still got the rest of your afternoon to work with. And you don't know. And if you're an East Coast person, you're not going straight to bed afterwards. So you can actually make it a full day if you want. But yeah, so could London host a Super Bowl? Yes, but there would need to be a little bit of things that would need to go into it. Again, I still maintain no. I think this is something that is just for the Americans. Again, regular season is fine, but you don't change location. You don't change location of the Super Bowl. Personally, anyway, what do you guys think about that? Whether you're on whether on the British side of the pond or the European side, because this is going to affect Europeans as well. Because I think once this, if this one works, then maybe we'll take it to Munich, to Paris, to whereas they're looking to expand to. Spain has been mentioned as one. We'll go along those lines. So there are a whole host of challenges that need to be figured out, but again, in 2023, and this would be like 2026, 7, 8, 9. I'm sure there'll be some logistics that they can make this all work. But again, let me guys know what you think in the comments below, or reach out to me on social media. Okay, take care.